Hello everyone, welcome back to Reload Revelation, the show where we break down some gear, talk about guns, and what's going on in the Second Amendment community. I'm your host, Ryan Souls, and thank you so much for tuning in again. Do me a favor, if you like this content, be sure to subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and as always, let's get into this adventure together. So for the first story I have for you today is, it's kind of weird, but the state of Hawaii has claimed that the spirit of aloha, which is the island spirit in Hawaii, trumps any constitutional right to carry guns around in the island. Now, you know what? No, this don't feel right. We got to do something about this. Aloha to you too. So the spirit of aloha, people are citing that it goes against the island's nature to have concealed carry or open carry, and the fact that a free-willing right to carry guns in a public way degrades other constitutional rights. I don't know what constitution the people of Hawaii are citing. However, it's pretty clear that they miss Second Amendment, that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But they go on to say that the government's interest in reducing firearm violence through reasonable weapons regulations has preserved peace and tranquility in Hawaii.
Stephen and Linda's child. Last time I saw you, you were the size of a coconut. Who's the Howley?
This completely turns away what true people are talking about when it comes to keeping and bearing arms, is the fact that no one should really care about what you have as long as you're doing it safely. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness encompasses a right to freely and safely move in peace and tranquility. Everyone does have the right to pursuit of happiness. That is very, very true. It's one of those unalienable rights given to us by God and in the Constitution. However, if your pursuit of happiness infringes on my pursuit, that's when we have an issue. Because the fact that you want me to not have what I have infringes on my right of pursuit of happiness. You may not like the fact that I have guns and that I carry them. That's perfectly okay. That is your opinion. May the spirit grant you tranquility. Apparently they forgot to open up a history book where the spirit of Hawaii is a true thing on the island. However, it involved a lot of human sacrifice, much like the Aztecs in Mexico and a lot of the ancient civilizations that we know today. They also go on to say there is no individual right to keep and bear arms under Article 1, Section 17, so there is no constitutional right to carry a firearm in public for possible self-defense. They're stating here, too, that, well, we're such a happy and peaceful place that we don't need that. I mean, yeah, you can do whatever you want. But again, you're not going to take away my right to defend myself. Now, whether that being I have a knife, I have a gun, you're never going to know. Why? Because concealed carry exists. You can fight it, which, of course, you know, like people like the FPC, the Firearms Policy Coalition, are fighting day to day for our gun rights.
Nice shot!
You can challenge a law, however, you're going to need a precedent. All right, I'm done being a Howley. Let's get to the next story. So the next story I have for you today it involves a famous basketball player, that being basketball player Shaquille O'Neal, or Shaq. I like calling him Shaq. Shaq is sponsoring a gun buyback in Dallas where you were able to get a $100 gift card for handguns and $125 for long guns, or rifles, as most people put it. So let's discuss buybacks for a second here, okay? In America, they can't mandatory buy back guns because then that goes against our Second Amendment right. Makes sense. However, offering $100 gift cards and $125 gift cards, really, truly think about this for a second. So you spent, let's say for just easy math, $500 on a used handgun. Legally, you purchased it, you liked it, but you want to get rid of it. Okay. I mean, that's your choice. Would you really settle for a $100 gift card? Truly. Instead of going back to a gun store and possibly selling it for more. So that people that can buy a used handgun that can't necessarily buy a new handgun could purchase that one for a discounted price. Now, of course, their reasoning behind this is that they want to take unwanted guns off the streets. Criminals do not care and will always find a way to get weapons. They do. There's the black market. Mind you, most of them are pretty junky, but they're claiming that they're guns on the streets and they want to get rid of them. Okay. Let's give you a little rule. If you see a gun just chilling on the sidewalk and you pick it up, you deserve to get in trouble for that a little bit, because most, if not all, people that know firearms and the firearm culture around it will immediately call authorities because they don't want their prints on it. Makes sense. And two, that's one of the rules of safety. That's one of the rules that people teach their kids. And that's another thing that pops up. Are you going to teach your kids the proper use of firearms and firearm safety? I would say yes. Now, I don't have kids right now, but I want to. That's what you would teach your children. Is if you see a firearm laying on the sidewalk, nobody's near it, it's untouched, that's what they're claiming. You call the authorities, you call the cops. Do I think that's truly happening? I really don't know. However, I haven't seen it in my lifetime. One of the problems with these buybacks is that there's a lot of historical weapons that are just going to be destroyed. Because the cops say if they're not stolen, and if you're doing this and you're buying back your guns for these gift cards, they will be destroyed. Now, whether or not that means completely destroyed, that's what I'm guessing. They're going to take them to some recycling joint and melt them away. It's sad. It really is. Because there's a lot of nice historical weapons that can be preserved or sold back to a gun store so that the history can be kept alive. That's the issue with these buybacks. You are taking away history. Whether you like it or not, whether it's the history that you want to accept, history is history no matter what. And speaking of which, let's go into a firearm that I know for sure if I traded in for a $100 gift card, I would be kicking myself. So for the gun I have for you today is a Beretta Xtreme Sport A400 sporting shotgun that is different from the shotguns that I have shown in the past. This is a specific duck hunting one. However, it also has a gas-operated weapon system in it. Super interesting. So we'll go top to bottom, kind of go down this thing, break it down for you, show you what it's all about. So to start off, we have a choke. This gun comes with multiple chokes. Now a choke basically just spreads the shot or constricts the shot depending on how much of a choke it really has. When it comes to this one, it's got a full, half, and I believe a quarter choke, and it just chokes down your shot to make more accurate shots when you're hunting said ducks. As far as the barrel is 26 inches in length. It's got a nice fiber optic sight on the top. Fiber optic, easier to pick out during the daytime. And then we go down to the handguard. It's a plastic handguard. There's no pump action on this because obviously it's a semi-automatic. It's a semi-automatic shotgun. So we go down even further to the receiver. There is two modes. We got our receiver right there with our rotating bolt. Really like to see that it's got a rotating bolt in there for safety. To lock the bolt back, which it does have that, you have to press this little feed ramp latch on it. And then when you rock the bolt back, it keeps it back until you hit your release, which is on the side right here. So if you're hunting, you see a nice shot for it, you can just click it, make sure you're away from this charging handle, because when you do click it, it comes all the way back just like that. Going down to the trigger, it's got a crossbolt safety. On the right side is safe, on the left side is fire. Makes sense for a right-handed shooter. So when you're leading your target, you're ready to shoot, all you gotta do is press that safety and then hit fire. As far as the feed ramp goes, I do like the fact that this feed ramp is actuated like that. It's a little bit stiff, but for hunting purposes, it makes sense. And then to have a kind of a feed ramp lock, it's super nice because obviously when we're rocking and rolling in a semi-automatic fashion, You don't want this to be anywhere near your hands if you are close to it. If you are, you're probably not using it right, but hey, no judgments here. As far as the stock goes, it's actually kind of an interesting stock because it has a buffer spring system inside the stock. Who would have known? It's pretty interesting to say the least. It takes a lot of that force out when you're shooting birdshot, which mostly birdshot is pretty easy to... It's different. It's different in the sense of it takes a lot of that shock out. You won't feel it as sore. Like, I hate shooting shotguns. That's just my personal opinion. But when it comes to something with this, with any sort of buffer, it takes away that sting. Makes it a little bit easier. And of course, if you're hunting, you don't want to be sore for when you're hunting. So let's take this apart. Like the fact on this magazine tube, it is just a one locking cap. So all you got to do is just take it once to the left. You'll feel it unlock. And it pops off just like that. What we do is we can either take off the handguard or we can take off the barrel. I'm just going to show you that handguard first just so we can see those inner workings of how this shotgun works. So there's our magazine tube. And then we take off our barrel. It's super easy. All you got to do, lift it straight up off that bolt. And there's your barrel. This one has a little bushing in it. So all you got to do is just physically pull that out with your fingers. And there's your bushing. But we're just going to keep it for right now in there because you don't necessarily need to clean that every single time. So then we get to the meat and potatoes of this. You have to pull this out to get to your bolt. However, what's really cool is that with a rotating bolt like that, you have to get this notch out first. And to do that, it's kind of tricky, but you just press it until it starts to rotate. So right before it rotates, that's when you have access to pulling out your charging handle. Once that's out, place it down to the side. You can now freely pull out your receiver with that big spring from your magazine tube. And this is completely taken apart for field stripping purposes. And now I can show you that nice big bolt on there. When you have it locked all the way forward, it's going to push and rotate, ready to go. And then your hammer hits that pin, fires the shot. So to put it all back together, we reverse the process. Take our stock assembly, slide it over that magazine tube until it goes all the way in. Much like taking it out, the trickiest part is getting this charging handle back into your bolt face. Make sure the peg is up. There's a little peg on here. Slide it up, slide it in, make sure it works. Looks like it's working so far. Next, we're going to do our barrel onto the body, making sure everything's locked up nice and tight. And we're going to take our handguard, slide it over until it locks, and then with the ease of a one snap magazine tube cap, turn it once to the right, you'll feel it click, and now you are locked and ready to go yet again. Overall, it's a very nice shotgun. Beretta makes a lot of good stuff. I love that this has a padded sling. Makes it nice and easy to carry around. And when you're shooting, it's very nice and light. And overall, a very, very reliable, clean, very well camouflaged, if I may add, shotgun. So of course, when you're at the range, you need two things besides your gun of choice. You need eye protection and you need ears. In my case, I feel like I'm good on eye protection. Been protected my whole life, basically. But let's talk about some ear protection. So this is what I use. These are Peltor Sport electronic shooting headphones, or earmuffs, ear protection, your pick. What's really cool about these is that there are two microphones in here. And what that does is when you turn them on, you can calibrate them to where they will cut out any loud noises, gunshots included, and basically tamp them down to where you aren't going to hurt your ears. Because, of course, when you're shooting without ear protection and they're supersonic rounds, which means, they're going above the sound barrier, They're going to pierce your ears. You're going to hear that ringing that everybody knows, that woo. So for these are really cool because they're electronic. Because most of the generic over-the-ear ear protection, they're big, they're bulky. Can't get a good cheek weld if you're holding a rifle. These are slim. They only take a couple batteries. And what's really cool is that this is how old these things are. Is that they added a 3.5 millimeter jack to jack into an MP3 player or your phone, because phones had aux cords, and you could play music through them as well, which is really cool. Now I'll just show you too that they're fully adjustable. The ear cups are nice and padded with a gel cup, and it's just got a little dial on the back. And I'll put these on. You know, safety never looks really cool. However, I will say that these, but now you can really hear, you can turn them up, turn them down, and to really get a feel for them, you may think that like this is going to blow my ears out. It's not. You just let your shot go, tune them, and once you have them tuned, you're good to go. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, Peltor Sports. These are older model, but they still serve me well when I'm shooting at the range. And overall, they're very comfortable. And the fact that I can jack into some music with a 3.5, that's pretty cool to me. Now, of course, there are a lot of better options that have communication capabilities with push-to-talks, things like that. That's the future project. However, for these, just for going to the range, shooting some paper, they work. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Reload Revelation. If you like this content, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications, and as always, remember these 5 rules. Never point your firearm at anything you don't intend on shooting. Know what is behind your target at all times. Be aware of your surroundings. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And of course, have fun. I'm Ryan Souls for Reload Revelation. Thank you so much again for tuning in. And as always, go catch some R&R. And for the people on the other side of the ocean, aloha.